Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight. And my guest tonight he's a writer and a comic writer. And he wrote for Marvel Comics and IDW and, of course, TV shows you see on TV. Jim Mccann. How's it going, Jim?
Hey, Robin. It's going great. Thank you for having me. Listeners, thank you for listening.
Hey, exactly. You were recently at New York Comic Con, which is still on my bucket list. I haven't got a chance to go, but I want to go. So how much fun did you have at New York Comic Con?
I had a blast, but it was very whirlwind. We flew out for the announcement that we'll talk about in a moment. That was made. I live in Los Angeles, so we took a red eye from Los Angeles on Friday into Saturday morning at 4:45. Landed in Newark, Ubered into the city, and just crashed out. But my brain was going. I got like 2 hours of sleep, and then I just had to kind of walk around the area because I used to live in New York for about almost 10 years, and I just had a bagel breakfast sandwich, which made me happy. Had coffee from a street vendor, that made me happy. And then had to get ready for the announcement because there was also right after that a Toho House Godzilla party that we were going to right after the panel. So I had to get all dressed up, go to that, and by that time it was 12 midnight, and I had still been awake from the day before. So I crashed, and Sunday I had to fly out. So I didn't really make it on the show floor this year, unfortunately. I made it on the panel, and I guess that's as close to the show floor as I got.
That's pretty cool. So you got to see a Godzilla film. What was that like? I love those Godzilla films.
Well, what we saw was they showed the original, very first Godzilla film.
Nice.
On the big screen, and then it was actually promoting Godzilla -1, which is going to be debuting on Apple TV December 1st. And you totally have to check it out. It's incredible. It's in Japanese, subtitled, and I don't think you've seen a Godzilla like this. It's really, really, really awesome. I was really happy to be a part of it.
So were you amazed at it? So you're a big Godzilla fan, huh?
You know, I like a lot. I like monsters. I just saw that there was a Kong Rise of the King, or Rise of the new King Kong movie that's coming up.
Nice.
There was a trailer for that dropped, I believe. That, or it was one that I somehow slipped through my fingers. But in Kong versus Godzilla, it was really hard to root. But I do have to say I rooted for King Kong. I was Team Kong on that one.
Oh, you're that guy. For liking King Kong. So let's talk about your latest comic. It's called Seeds of Ruin, which is a spinoff off the Ghost of Ruins animated series. How'd you become part of that with Battle Island?
Battle Island was looking for comic book writers that they could entrust with telling two different types of stories. And so I was put in touch with them. A friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, this company is interested in talking to you." And I spoke to them about 3, maybe 4 times. And each time it was like, I think I have this. I think I've got this gig. And because I didn't know the whole scope of it at the time. And Seeds is just like one part. There's but it's a big part. Um, there's also another comic called Chronicles um, of Ruin, which takes place just before Ghosts of Ruin happens. But mine actually in Ghosts of Ruin, the game Ruin is the biggest thing there is. Esports rules the world right now. Commerce is traded through esports. Um, Everybody is constantly plugged in, um, and uh, and so, um, but it always hadn't been that way. It's set in the year 2065. My book goes all the way back to the beginning, to literally the 8-bit beginning in the 1980s in San Francisco, which is why it's called Seeds of Ruin, because we tell the story of what happens or what happened in the early days. So they kind of wanted somebody that could really world build, and they took a look at my work and saw what I had done with Return of the Dapper Man, with Mind the Gap, the stuff that I had pulled from for Hawkeye and Mockingbird, and then I just kind of pitched them a couple of ideas. Like they sent me the show Bible and the character descriptions, and I just saw how rich and fertile this property is, Ghosts of Ruin, and how great the show is going to be. I got to see the animatics, read the scripts, and so ideas just kept popping into my head and popping into my head, and I was like, what if this were connected to that, and this happened here? And they were like, you know what? You're actually hitting on a lot of ideas that we've talked about. And at that point, I was like, oh, I have to have this. I have to have this gig. And yeah, I got the call a little bit later that afternoon after I had done my pitch. And they said, you got it. And now let's talk about it. So Seeds of Ruin was born there. They've been really great in letting me pick out my art team, which is how I got the Mike Perkins cover colored by Mike Spicer, which is really cool. This is an audio podcast, but if you go to, I think you can put a link into the podcast.
Oh, I definitely will. I like that front cover.
Yeah. If you link to the IGN article that debuted it, it's got the trailer debut, the cover debut, and a solicitation or a breakdown a bit of what Seeds is about.
Yeah, the front cover's awesome. It's good and bloody. So is it like a kind of like a horror comic a little bit, or is it more?
Yeah, I like to say it's murder, mystery, and monsters.
Yes.
So in a noir setting. So it's a very noir book set in the 80s in San Francisco. So it's going to be rainy and foggy and lots of mystery, lots of intrigue. I've been rewatching a bunch of shows and movies about. I've actually been watching some documentaries. There's some great ones about the early days of arcade and console gaming.
Nice.
If you just look at them on Netflix and some other platforms, and then of course, if you haven't seen Tetris on Apple TV, I highly suggest that you watch that. It's a great movie. It's not a documentary. But it is based on the true events. And then watch a little bit of The Americans again, which had that Cold War era spies,
nice,
defecting, paranoia. There's a lot of paranoia. And I would say there's a fair amount of blood, even from the first issue.
Ooh, I like that. I mean, the covers for phenomenal. I knew it was going to be like a noir, video game slash horror monster book anyway. And when you showed me that cover, I was amazed. I'm gonna definitely have to pick it up because I do follow and read some of your work. I mean, like you just mentioned, I love that Hawkeye and Mockingbird series you did. That was pretty good. It was more like of a spy type of espionage
Thank you.
type of comic, and then in
Definitely bringing those elements in.
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you've written for all types of comics, everywhere from Marvel, IDW to independent, and what you usually write is, to me, is pretty golden. I just like your work because when you do your writing, you really get into it and you put your heart and soul into the character and the story that you do for a certain comic title, which I kind of enjoy reading.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I really believe the character is first. And some of the monsters that are in Seeds of Ruin is almost the monstrosity of mankind, and how we can turn on each other or be pitted against each other, and the depths that someone will go to either save what they hold dear or take from what they believe is theirs, and what the way they can shape public opinion. And I think that this comes at a really good time because there is that feeling in the atmosphere right now where the world can divide at pretty much any moment, or the country can divide at pretty much any moment right now, and it gives us a bit of fertile ground to draw from, and I think that people will react to it and resonate with it even though it's set in the 80s, as what they can perceive as happening today.
Ooh, that's wild. How many issues is it going to be that you're going to be writing for Seeds of Ruin?
Right now, it is a 4-issue miniseries that'll then be collected into a graphic novel. Whatever may come after, I can't tell you. Let's say yeah. Can I not tell you, or am I just not allowed to tell you?
Ooh, now you're getting my mind like thinking of everything too. Besides that, is there any other projects you're working on too? You can talk about a little bit, or?
Oh well, Return of the Dapper Men, which is what won myself and my co-creator and artist Janet Lee Eisner's. We met up in New York, and she's really busy with a book that she's writing and drawing, and it's going to be amazing. And I've got seeds going,
Mm-hmm.
but once all the heavy lifting for those have finished, we do want to return to Return of the Dapper Men, and we want to really take a look and see. Like, we've been talking about like ideas and what would this book be, and if it works out, it's going to be great. If it doesn't, it was an awesome standalone book that's beloved by a lot of people.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the Damper Man. I haven't got a chance to read it. What's the Damper Man? What's that all about?
Return of the Dapper Men is a book about a land where time has stopped and stayed stopped for as long as anybody can remember, until one day 314 identical-looking dapper men in pinstripe suits and umbrellas and green bowler hats come raining down from the sky, and time starts up again. The kids have been kids for as long as they can remember. There are no adults around, but there are robots, and robots have forgotten what it is to build. Kids have forgotten what it is to play. And it's just, life was very stagnant. And I wrote it at a time when I felt like everything was kind of at a holding pattern, um, and but starting to move forward in a way. And so they bring back with them not just time, because time starts back up again when these dapper men come raining down from the sky, but what it means to grow up, to put away your toys, what good nights mean, what sunsets mean, what a sunrise can bring, and just how important time can be when you let yourself grow.
Gotcha. I'm going to definitely have to check that out.
It's a book for all ages. Janet and I have heard from second grade teachers who use it in their classrooms to college professors who use it as a study in the hero's journey. So it's been really flattering for that. And then we have a really rabid fan base. And so I'm really hoping that, they'll pick that up. And I'm hoping, of course, everybody's going to come and read Seeds because that's what we're working on now.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely read it once it comes out, too. Now, since I've known you for a while, you were never a big horror fan until, you met your better half, Jamie. So, because Jamie is a horror nerd, he's a horror nut, and one of these days, I'm going to pick his brain, and he's going to love it. But how did he drag you into starting to enjoy horror films, and what was that first movie he made you watch to get you to enjoy horror?
Believe it or not, well, see, my first horror film I saw was when I was 6 or maybe 7, and it was on a laser disc at my friend's house of Friday the 13th, Part 1.
Okay.
And I had to ride my bike home in the dark, and it's very Stranger Things back in those days. I had to ride my home back in the dark, and I was terrified that a masked man with a machete was going to come out and get me at any moment, or, as we know now, a masked mother who was incredibly strong somehow. But I didn't watch horror after that, and so Jamie started me out with the basics. His pretty much all-time favorite is Poltergeist. So, and I love Spielberg, and it just never clicked to me that, oh my God, Spielberg made this. I should at least give it a chance and watch it. And then that was when he had come to visit the first time, because he's from Scotland. And he went back to Scotland, and we would try these like video nights where we would sync it up on our computers and be on FaceTime and try and watch a movie at the same time. And oftentimes it was a horror film. And then he came back to visit pretty much to stay, and one of the first ones he showed me was the Katie Cassidy remake version of Black Christmas, because he was here at the holidays. And then we just kind of made our way through the canon, through the big guns, Jason, Freddy, Michael, and I have to say I'm a fan of them. When we've run out of things to watch, there are a couple of movies that we're like, all right, let's just go back to, and 2 of those are Friday the 13th Part 4 and Halloween Part 4. It just happens to be Part 4 on both of them. But yeah, those are like my favorites of those franchises. And it's coming up on. Oh well, wait. We just watched. Is it Totally Killer?
Yeah, Totally Killer on Amazon. It's Back to the Future meets Happy Death Day meets Halloween. I love that movie. It was so fun, and I love how it taught you the history of time traveling when you're trying to stop a serial killer.
Yes, exactly. I loved that. I loved Freaky. I loved Violent Night. Um, so I can appreciate and watch horror, and we watched a lot of the classic horror films. I like I like a little bit of. I mean, I'm a huge Scream fan. I will say that.
Okay.
Before we met, I was actually a huge Scream fan, and I think it's because it was so meta that this, and I knew a lot of the actors. I was familiar with a lot of the actors that were in it. That it didn't scare me. I mean, I still got the jump scares, but I loved everybody that was in it, and so I was like, oh. So I was a big Scream fan, but then Jamie's thrown open the doors to like cult '80s slashers, which is his jam, and then we'll also throughout the week we'll kind of go through and see what's being released or what's out there that maybe we haven't seen or he's seen and he thinks I would like, and we queue up about 3 or 4 of them, and he's usually got Saturday off. I have Saturday off, and it's our time to just lay back in bed, unwind from the week, and by watching 3 to 4 horror movies or disaster movies. Those are our other bread and butter.
Oh my gosh, you guys are worse than me. I've been watching tons of horror lately, but I also love my action films too, but horror's still my, number one heart. I've been watching horror films like crazy, like you guys, man. Oh, I'll come home after work and I'll put on a couple and then go to bed. And then like on the weekends when I'm off, I'll just start binging a shit ton of horror films. I blame that on Joe Bob Briggs because he made me explore different types of genre of horror. Joe Bob Briggs, The Last Drive-In. He warped my mind when I was a little kid at 7 years old, and that's why I appreciate horror so much. And Jamie needs to get you into some of the Dario Argento films like Suspiria, The Terra Inferno, Fulci, another Italian horror director. Italian horror is pretty cool, and then I also love the British Hammer horror from the 50s and 60s of Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing. Those are fun films too. So, since you're becoming to love horror more, have you ever thought about writing your own like horror story, like into a book or maybe a script?
Actually, Jamie had this really great idea. And he'd written it to be a movie. And when I read it and we started talking about it, I was like, I know how I can make this a comic. And so we do have a pitch put together.
Nice.
For a comic book that is a straight up slasher horror comic. And once things are rolling, that's something that I would love to do with the right time and place and publisher and when all the stars align, which I'm hoping isn't too far down the future. It would be really good because Jamie's mind is very fertile with horror, and I'm a halfway decent writer, and now I'm watching a lot of horror, so I'm like, okay, I can tackle horror, and especially with Jamie standing over my shoulder, going, nope, wait, Final Girl has to scream more.
Oh, that's wild. Hey, Jamie can be a final guy in your story.
Maybe there's an another story out there where Jamie's a final guy, and then he could star in it.
Exactly. You can do a horror short film about that and have Jamie is the star going against some crazy, slasher or serial killer.
That would be fun. Collaborating with Jamie is great. I have a lot of fun, but I also really I love the fact that he's also my number one fan.
Nice.
And reignite this spark of creativity and belief, and just cheers me on. Is blown away by everything. He's going to be promoting the hell out of Ghosts of Ruin and Seeds of Ruin. He's shown people the trailers, and there are actually 2 or 3 teaser trailers, and then the official trailer that was shown at New York Comic Con. If you go to Ghosts of Ruin on YouTube, they have a channel, and you'll be able to see a lot of stuff there. If you're on Facebook, there's a page of Ghosts of Ruin TV. They're on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and Instagram as well. You just look up Ghosts of Ruin, you'll find it, and from there you'll find a lot of stuff about Seeds of Ruin, which I'm really excited about, and I also wanted to thank you because this will be the first podcast that I've done for Seeds of Ruin by myself. So having me on and just to be able to talk about Seeds has been great.
Yeah, definitely will. I feel privileged. I'm glad you came on. I mean, you're a good friend, and I'll make sure I also tag Battle Island too. So
yes, please. The people at Battle Island are amazing. I've only known them a short time, but the energy that they bring and the sense of community that they bring, Battle Island and Ghost of Ruin has a huge community following, but within the people that work on this project with Battle Island, I feel like I'm a part of their community or tribe, and it's really a great experience and an amazing work environment. I've been given such creative freedom I can't even tell you, and that's all because of the people at Battle Island.
That's pretty awesome, and I'm also glad you're probably also happy the writers won the strike. I'm happy for you guys.
Yes. Yep. Now we just have to get SAG in.
Yeah, and I hope SAG hurries up, and I hope they come up with something, because I'm getting tired of watching reality crap TV. Hey, I had to say that.
I have my guilty pleasures. Jamie never got The Amazing Race in the UK, and so Paramount Plus has all of the seasons.
That's a lot.
And I won't say out loud that we've been binging all of the seasons, but I just said it out loud. So
okay. Now, where can everybody find you on social media so they can follow you to see what you're going to be doing?
Yes, that's a great question, and thank you for bringing that up. I am at Jim Mccann on everything. I have to set up my Blue Sky account here very soon. But on Twitter, I'm Jim Mccann. On Instagram, I'm Jim Mccann. And on Facebook, I'm Jim Mccann. And it's just JIMMCCANN.
All right, Jim. Thank you so much for coming on out of your busy schedule to talk to me tonight.
Well, thank you for having me, Robin.
Oh, anytime. And everybody, thank you for listening to Horror Pop Out.